of our very own Justin Iungerich. And for those of you who couldn't make it to Josh's promotion last week, which he scheduled at like literally the last second, so it's understandable. I said something, I'm going to say it again today. I think it's important that being in the military, we have the opportunity to celebrate the career of one of our airmen, because there are so many issues nowadays that we can divide ourselves upon. It's becoming harder and harder to find things that we can unify around. And being in the military, I think we have these opportunities to sit down next to each other and reflect on someone's contributions and their commitment to dedicated service that allow us to reflect on what we've done and answer the questions of why we serve. And when we do that, we can start to stitch back together all of those things that have really stretched our American fabric really to its breaking point and have shaken us, especially in light of the recent events in Las Vegas in the last couple of weeks. So that said, I'm really happy and excited to be here today. Although, Justin, I think when people think of you, they think of someone who's very even-keeled, very not very loud and boisterous, but very introspective, pretty intelligent guy. Leaves me wondering how you managed to select me to do your officiant. I don't know if anyone would use those words to describe me, but I think it's with the real contrast that you can appreciate somebody's true colors. And so I'm pretty excited to do this for us today and to see you through your final moments as a first lieutenant. We're going to talk about your career so far at Travis Air Force Base, your deployment, and a little bit about the support network that you've had developing in the Air Force that has helped you achieve everything that you have. So to start, Justin graduated in 2013 from Virginia Tech with a degree in civil engineering. And received his first assignment at Travis Air Force Base. Of course, he brought with him his then wife, Amy, to Travis Air Force Base. And a lot like many of us in his first assignment, they hand you a $100 million construction portfolio and they say, hey, Justin, tell us what to do with this. And sure enough, he did that as a programmer in his first assignment. Travis Air Force Base is home to the KC-10, the C-5, and the C-17. So I'm imagining a pretty high ops tempo, pretty important training mission there as well. So those projects, obviously entrusted with you, had a pretty profound impact and made Travis Air Force Base, or sustained the mission there at Travis Air Force Base. In addition to being a programmer, Justin was an energy manager. As far as that role was concerned, he did xeriscaping projects, which if you're not familiar with those, California, I'm sure you are. That's where basically you take turfed areas or areas that don't have any kind of development, you plant succulent farms. And so apparently that was a pretty big initiative there at Travis Air Force Base, and Justin led that. Also, he led the base-wide recapitalization of their incandescent bulbs over to LEDs. So a pretty important transition there, and he also managed to host the SAF IEN, so the deputy to the Air Force Energy Manager, and showed him around the base and maybe offered a couple of alternate perspectives of why perhaps the facility energy guidelines that are being pushed out maybe are impacting or potentially can impact Travis Air Force Base mission there. So offering a pretty important perspective. After he did the energy management job, he was a project manager. He actually had the opportunity to sit on his source selection board for a $100 million ramp repair, full depth repair for the parking ramp out there. He actually managed to oversee one of 12 phases worth about $5 million that replaced 4 of the parking spaces there for those aircraft. And the importance of that is that he gained a lot of good experience in concrete work that helped him during his deployment. And so during his deployment to an undisclosed location in the Middle East, Justin was actually the installation management flight chief. And we don't always need these huge, leadership opportunities to make a profound impact. In fact, when Justin arrived there, he was leading a flight of one person. That one person was a pest manager and the bug guy, and he was attached to the installation management flight. So at this forward operating location, Justin was responsible for effectively starting the installation management program, where he established the numbering system for the base. He did HazWaste and hazmat management program. He effectively began the real property reporting system at the installation. which is no small undertaking. And I can't imagine you having a lot of free time. But in his free time, he actually installed or removed the host nation mobile aircraft arresting system, replaced it with ours, but not only that, Justin designed the rebar cages and the concrete anchors for the mobile aircraft arresting system, which I think is pretty awesome. I've never actually done anything that cool in terms of engineering in my whole career, so for you to have that opportunity is pretty awesome. But he also was tasked with the programming and project management for concrete work around the base, which you were probably selected for because you had the experience that you did. And so you left a profound impact, and perhaps one of the things that he's most proud of from that deployment was that he provided over 70,000 square feet to an Army unit in terms of living and operating space for their direct contributions to Operation Inherent Resolve. And so a pretty profound impact, especially for a lieutenant on his first deployment, and we appreciate the contributions that you made. But of course, the contributions that you did make, both at home station and deployed, couldn't have been as effective or without the support network that you have enjoyed up to this point. And so we are, of course, joined by Justin's father, David, and his mother, Holly. Thank you guys for coming. And of course, by his wife, Amy. Thank you for being here, too. And so I sat down with Justin to kind of talk about exactly some of the things that we wanted to mention during this. And when we get to this part, when Justin told me the story, his face lit up. It was really awesome, and there was no way I couldn't share this story with you guys, and it has to do with how Justin and Amy met. So Justin and Amy were both students at Virginia Tech, and Amy worked at a grocery store called the Food Lion. And while I don't think, so I'm trying to get this right, you're not going to identify as a cashier. Your official title was, what is it, the front end customer service manager? But you were something. Okay.
I was in charge of the whole time.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, gotcha. But so the way that Justin explained the story to me was that he had visited the Food Lion on several occasions, just picking up groceries here and there. He notices you. He begins to talk to you and try to plant the seed, leave his impression, obviously. And then one fateful day, Justin fills his basket with $200 worth of groceries. And so I remember how broke I was as a senior in college, and I can imagine maybe you went through the same thing. But $200 of groceries, that's a lot of groceries, right? And so he goes up and he's pulling into the checkout line where Amy is working, and basically Justin's making a $200 bet with himself. He'd invited some friends over to dinner that night, and this was the moment where he was going to invite Amy over to dinner with all of his friends, so they could meet her, get to know her, and so Justin can finally begin his relationship with Amy. And so, if it worked out, Amy would say yes, and their relationship would flourish, and they would be where we are today. If they said no, you'd be eating your feelings with $200 worth of groceries, right? So. Yeah. $200 worth of bacon.
Bacon.
It was literally just bacon. All right. So, naturally, things turned out well, and we're joined here by Amy today, and you've enjoyed the support from her over your last few years. You guys got married in August of 2013, and it's important that we celebrate the relationship and the support network that people have to get them to where they are today. Mostly because the Air Force is never going to ask you if it's okay if we deploy Justin and send him off to do some things. We're just going to kind of assume that, well, he's got to go, we told him. And that's usually that. So today's commitment, or today's acknowledgement of Justin's continued commitment to dedicated service is not just about Justin, it's about you as well. And so I'd like to be the first among everybody here today to say thank you for your continued commitment to dedicated service alongside Justin in his career as an Air Force officer and beyond. And I hope that your relationship continues to flourish and provide you the support network that you both need to continue to do wonderful things in whatever direction that takes you. Okay, so we've poked enough fun at Justin. We've talked about his base experience, talked about his deployed experience. We even talked about Amy a little bit. And I think now, if you're ready, we'll go ahead and get you pinned on, and then we'll administer the oath.
Sounds great.
Cool.
So Amy's gonna swap me out in new ranks.
Hit him.
Just
I'm not even serious.
On the collarbones.
All right, now you got to really get your punch right. No. All right, so this is real. This is not a joke, okay? So you can do it. Probably best to do it with this part of your hand.
Where spousal abuse is okay.
It's actually encouraged. So as hard as you can. Broken collarbones are.
And you're gonna have to get the one on his head too. Just.
Yeah.
That's what I said. It's like, put your hands right.
Right in the forehead.
All right. Ready?
All right, I'm all prettied up. Do your worst. Oh, you can do better than that.
Oh, man.
Get a wind up.
All right, that works.
Is that it?
Thank you, Amy. We're gonna administer the oath now. Yes. Okay. If everyone could please stand.
I, Justin Iungerich,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
to support and defend the Constitution
to support and defend the Constitution
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
That I bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
that I bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
That I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office upon which
of the office upon which
I am about to enter.
I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right, congratulations, buddy.
Thank you, man. So, thank you, Sean. That was a beautiful speech. That's almost 80% why I chose you to do it.
You guys can sit down now, please.
Honestly, Sean's been kind of a role model of sorts, someone to look up to as what a good officer should be and how to act, basically. And I hope to be at least part of the captain that he is right now when I get to come of age one day. Thanks everyone for showing up. It means a lot. We starting out as a captain to get a good crowd supporting me. And thanks Dad and Mom for coming out, making the trip.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad you guys got to see it and see how we take care of one another. And most of all, thank you, Amy. This promotion is especially important because she didn't get to make the last one. I was deployed on that one, and we basically had her Skyping in on a telephone, and luckily we had service out there where you could get a connection. But her support throughout the years has meant so much to me, and reminds me every day of how lucky I am to have you as my wife. Honestly, she's never had any military experience. No one in her family has really done it, so she didn't know what it was about when she got into it. She just said yes. And honestly, she's been a little better at it than I have many of the times while I've been in, and she's been there for me every step of the way, whether at home or when I've been gone. So all I can really say is thank you and that I love you. So thank you very much. So that's all I got. Thanks everyone for showing up and coming out and seeing all this. And hopefully I see some of you guys on Friday, where there's a bunch of us who are just going to do a collaborative get together and be able to use our money on some food and drinks.
So who around here thinks that she ought to hit him again because she wasn't there the last time?
Yeah.
Definitely.
She didn't get the head either.
The other shoulder. Go slug him again.
All right, congratulations, Justin.